How's it going? Welcome to Trades and Grades YouTube channel. I'm Noah Wright. Alongside me is Camden Gongwer, and today we are going to be debating who is the better dynasty fantasy football quarterback, Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert. Let's get into it. All right. Well, there's been, I'd say, quite a bit of debate that I've seen in the last couple of weeks on who people think is the better dynasty fantasy football quarterback between Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. And before the season, I thought that was kind of a clear answer. But as of late, it doesn't seem that way. This season's definitely taken a turn in value for the players. And I think it's something to kind of see where we're at right now with the dynasty community and figure out, who is really the better player for dynasty moving forward. Not so much who's going to be the more talented quarterback, but I guess like situations play some role in this. And you can't like account for situations all the time, but we're going to break it down with who we think's better. So we're just going to start off here with Justin Herbert and what he's done in the first couple of years. So Justin Herbert, by the numbers, in year one, completion percentage 66.6%, yards per game 289.1, and his touchdown interceptions 31 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He broke multiple rookie records. I think most ever, I believe for the first 2 years, most touchdown passes was 69 through the first 2 seasons of an NFL career, most passing yards and most completions, and then he broke the Chargers single season record in his second year for touchdowns, passing yards, and completions with completion percentage of 65.9%. He had yards per game of 200, almost 295, 38 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. So obviously fantastic start. And I would say that he's a top 3 in dynasty pick. And one of my drafts, I picked him in a startup. I had the 102 in a super flex. I picked him over Patrick Mahomes, which would be an extremely hot take right now. But at the time, I really feel like Herbert was an all-around better quarterback for fantasy purposes, and that's all we care about is for fantasy purposes. And so before we get any further,
everyone knows what the answer is in real life.
I mean, real life quarterback, it's hard to go against Patrick Mahomes.
I'm just saying Herbert versus Burrow in real life. Everyone knows the answer to that.
That's what we think.
I know.
But if you guys love Dynasty Fantasy Football content, please like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've been putting out some mock draft videos lately, and so we're really trying to grind it out as we get towards the end of the season. But without further ado, let's just keep grinding through this. So obviously, first really good first couple years for Herbert. What were your, I guess, initial thoughts if you're going into a super flex draft this year? Were you willing to take him over like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes?
Probably not, personally.
So if you had to give a rankings of like, let's say like 1 through 5 before the season, if you can go back that far, where would you have it? In Dynasty
quarterback.
Dynasty quarterbacks
before the season?
Yes. If you can like
those are the top 3 before the season. If I were to do it now, I don't think he'd be in my top 3 personally.
So who do you have at 3 then?
Jalen Hurts.
Okay. That's what I was kind of expecting, but I wasn't for sure. So obviously fantastic first couple years. We'll move into Joe Burrow's numbers. Year 1 has a knee injury. Through 10 games, you only got to play and start in 10 games. Completion percentage 65.7, 269 yards per game, and then 13 touchdowns, 5 picks. So if you go through the first 10 games and see like how they did against each other, Herbert had the better overall stats. Regardless, now you could have a better finish. Burrow could have a better finish. Maybe put him in the race for Rookie of the Year, but he obviously didn't. He had the knee injury. Comes back year 2 with a little bit better offensive line, but still a lot of question marks. People were worried, with the knee injury, not a great offensive line. How is he going to fare? They get Jamar Chase, and he had a fantastic year. Led the Bengals to the Super Bowl. Completion percentage was through the roof. Yards per game 288, touchdowns 34, 14 picks. So you look at the second year, and if we go back to Herbert, they're pretty similar. Better completion percentage for Joe Burrow. Yards per game, touchdowns to interception ratio is in favor of Herbert to the first 2 years. So the first 2 years, we got Herbert over Burrow.
Herbert didn't even play the full first season, too, by the way. How many weeks did he miss going in that year?
I think he played 15, technically. I think he missed the first week, his Tyrod Taylor, and then he got thrown in pretty quick. So he definitely was not like in the mode to be a star there, which is probably harder than what I think Burrow had to go through.
Absolutely.
Because he has those reps, I guess, somewhat, but he probably was getting more second team reps than Tyrod Taylor was. And
Herbert had no first team reps, I'm almost positive.
So, I mean, I remember the head coach saying at the time, Anthony Lynn, saying he's a backup quarterback for a reason, which really struck me like, wow. So you just drafted this guy,
Anthony Lynn,
yeah, sixth pick in the first round, and you're just gonna say he's a backup for a reason.
Well, he told him, he blamed the game on him after when he went out there 5 minutes before he started and threw for like 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. He threw like an interception, and it was like, well, this game's on him. He threw an interception.
Right, ridiculous. Yeah, and then he goes on to break like all the rookie records for a quarterback, breaks all the records through 2 games or through 2 seasons. So yeah, it's safe to say he's a pretty good quarterback. And so yeah, we're looking through your 15 games is what it was. And they've never had a great defense. So I really dislike the fact that people will sometimes use, wins for means to be like, this quarterback's better than the other quarterback, right? I just feel like that's just not a great use of like statistics where it's like, oh, well, this quarterback has a better record. Okay, well, Jimmy G's record is like amazing, and he is not a better quarterback than Justin Herbert.
Sucks.
Yeah. So he does what he needs to do to get the job done, but it's nothing fantastic. So the first 2 years, we're seeing probably, Justin Herbert is going to be over Joe Burrow. I feel like that's, mostly consensus, but Burrow really turned it on the end of last year's Super Bowl. His value skyrocketed. I think Burrow was maybe top 7 or 8, maybe at the end of last year. And then he over the offseason into this year, as we're going to see here in year 3, he's really like exponentially grown. So we're through two years. We're leaning Herbert. Year 3. It's been kind of a roller coaster for the Chargers and Justin Herbert in general. He had the rib issue. I really think he's been dealing with that the whole time. And he just hasn't really talked much about it. He got hurt early on in the year. He's been playing through it. And then you have the key injuries. Keenan Allen he didn't play for like 9 or 10 weeks. And that's probably his best receiver, I think most consistent receiver. And he's got Mike Williams, who's also been out for a good chunk of that. And so basically he's left with Josh Palmer. And, no slight against Josh Palmer, but it's a little bit different than being able to throw to T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and then Jamar Chase for about half the time. And I'd take T. Higgins personally.
I think they're both Pro Bowl wide receivers. You have a guy with no Pro Bowl wide receivers with a guy who does.
Right. And Keenan Allen was, but he's also 30 now, and he's had some injury issues. And it's like,
why now? I mean, he didn't play, so you can't call him a Pro Bowl receiver this year.
No, right. But I'm just saying, like, in the past, he had been, and then this year, he's, it's just not the same. So there's that to be said. I don't know exactly off the top of my head the offensive line rankings, but I know the Chargers have had some issues on the offensive line. They've had injuries.
Left tackles. Bengals down.
Bengals are notorious for not having a great offensive line, but they've slowly built it up. And so we look at year 3, completion percentage, nod Burrow, yards per game, Burrow, touchdown interception ratio, Burrow. Overall year has been much better for them. And so that just kind of leaves us with, it's almost kind of even-ish at this point. So now we're just trying to figure out, who overall moving forward is going to be the best dynasty fantasy football quarterback. So if you had to pick right now, Camden, we just went through all the stats.
It's Herbert. His year 1 and 2 numbers blow Burrow's numbers this year out of the water. You want to know the difference between those years and this year for Herbert? He literally has a broken rib and his receivers are dog water, and he doesn't have an offensive line. Like,
Yep.
The argument for him not being better moving forward would be none of that gets fixed. I think that's the best argument. I think he's the better quarterback in real life, no question. If you debate that, go debate a wall because you're an idiot. Just kidding. You're not. Maybe you're not an idiot, but I don't respect your opinion on
Idiot on
that
the
one.
topic, maybe. Just.
Anyway, since he's the better quarterback, I think I don't know. I think his receivers will be healthy next year. I think Keenan Allen will come back healthy. Mike Allen will hopefully come back healthy. It's kind of the first time they've been out, either one of them, this amount of extended time, I would say. I think maybe Mike Williams has, but Keenan Allen's been pretty steady. I think they patched that offensive line, and I think a lot of that stuff improves, and I think he's better in the long run again. Whereas I think Joe Burrow, like, what could get better for him in his scenario? I can't point to a whole lot of things. I'm going to be honest. Like, you have Joe Mixon. You could say offensive line a little bit, but to your point, it's been getting better. I don't think they have a bad offensive line this year statistically. He has 2 Pro Bowl receivers and Tyler Boyd, who becomes a Pro Bowl receiver every couple games. So I just think, I don't know. I think Herbert has so much more upside.
Yeah.
He's clearly the better one, year 1 and 2, I would say. And I think he goes back to that year 4, personally, because I think there's reasons why he's not doing as well, and I don't think it's that big of a difference this year to be like, Burrow's definitely number 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what's gone wrong for him?
Right.
Jamar Chase went out for 6 weeks.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can certainly point to that. And that certainly hurts because that's your guy. Like, it's your number 1 wide receiver.
He was still throwing it to T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, though. I guess that's my point. Like,
right. Exactly. Yep. I agree with that. He still has the better weapons, in my opinion, by like quite a bit. And so I think that's obviously like a huge thing to look at. Whereas Herbert just hasn't had those weapons this year.
Herbert's been hurt. Like,
and he's been hurt.
To your point, I think he's just too humble enough to come out and say it. I mean, the dude has like a flip phone, I think, still. I mean,
absolutely. He's literally one of the most humble people. Like, he hates the attention. If you ever watch like any like social media, like their Chargers are pretty good with social media stuff, like on TikTok and Twitter, and they've done stuff with him, and he literally like hates to be around like the camera, or he like always is like deflecting, and he's like never trying to be like in the spotlight. And so like I feel like he's a really good leader, but he's also like super humble, which is nice to see. And so, yeah, I would have to agree with you. I think Herbert, here's an interesting stat I'm going to put out there. So this year, Joe Burrow is 7th in the league in yards per pass thrown, right? So they're throwing the ball, at least somewhat down the field compared to other teams. Justin Herbert ranks 26th. That is like insane to me. They have not used him at all down the field.
I wonder how much of that is because of his ribs, though. I mean,
that could be the case.
He can even run for a first down. I can't imagine. I mean,
right.
I know he's healing a little bit, but I can't imagine it feels amazing to just like chuck it really far.
Right. No, exactly. And so you have the injury concern, obviously, and then whatever it might be with the Joe Lombardi, Lombardi in whatever his offensive team is with people that are not in. I mean, he doesn't have the
Chargers dump it down to Eckler so much that one, I would say that has to go against his numbers. Like, that has to just
that's it.
Tinker numbers. 2, his playmakers are gone, right? Like,
right.
Throwing it to Jamar Chase and watching him run for 60 yards and getting the credit for it. Like,
right. Yep. And it's gone down. Like, if you go back to 2021 and see where he ranked 11th in the NFL with 7.5 yards per pass thrown. And so if you were at 7.5 this year, he'd be ranked 9th. So if he was on the same pace as last year, he actually would have gone up based on just the way things are going in the NFL. But yeah, it's something's certainly not the same there. And I don't think it's Herbert's talent by any means. So right. No, definitely not. He's a great passer. I feel like he has really good, decision making, all that stuff you'd want in a stereotypical,
he's building a lab.
Dynasty.
Honestly.
Right. He is.
Go build a quarterback in a lab. Guess what? You just built Justin Herbert.
Yep. I agree.
Justin Herbert hasn't ran that much this year either. I would say if you look at his numbers from this year to last year, His rushing attempts are way down. I think particularly like quarterback sneaks and touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. I don't know if he has a single rushing touchdown this year, actually.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't. That being said, that's because he has a rib injury.
Right.
Like his fantasy value when he starts running a little bit more too next year when he's healthy, goes back up.
Yep.
Bro's not hurt, so I don't know.
Yep. We look at last year. He had 302 yards on the ground. That's 4.5 yards per attempt. And he had 3 touchdowns. He had 5 touchdowns his rookie year on the ground. So that's like considerable amount because that's 30 points in fantasy football. That's all we care about is fantasy football. And we can talk about real quarterbacks in the NFL.
Joe Burrow has a good amount of quarterback sneaks this year too. I will say, like he scored a lot of touchdowns.
He's got a lot on the ground,
and he keeps stealing them.
So
Mixon had 5. I was like, he could have had 6, but nope. Burrow had to get his.
So yeah, that's an interesting stat. I'm gonna see if I can find that. Last year, Joe Burrow was number 1 in yards per passing attempt, but yeah, he's at 5 rushing touchdowns this year already, and but not a lot of yards on the ground. His yards per attempt's not great.
That's what I'm saying. So, like that's a negative regression. Like you can't. I don't know. For me.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so before we hop off here, we both agree Justin Herbert over Joe Burrow, even with this year. But let's see some trades that have happened in real
Justin Herbert
leagues.
Rushing touchdown this year, under over 1.
I feel like he'll get one. Yeah.
No, he's 0.
Oh, I thought you were asking, is he gonna get one?
Oh no, I hope he does. But
yeah,
he's 0.
I think he'll probably get one. Okay, so here are a couple trades. There's one that's got both of them in them, and so I will tell you the trade, and you let me know what you think. So Justin Herbert and Drake London for Joe Burrow, Pat Freiermuth, and a 23 fourth.
4th round pick.
Yeah.
So Herbert side is not even close.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I agree. If we're both picking Herbert over Burrow, then you already have
not even close.
Yeah, and then it's basically London versus Pat Freiermuth.
I'd probably like do some research for it, except it's not like one. That's like so like I don't know. Like I would actually have to do some research and figure out why this even got proposed to me. Because it would smell fishy to me.
Okay, here's another one. This one's closer. Justin Herbert, now I know this isn't who we're talking about, but this is another guy people have been saying lately is a better quarterback than Justin Herbert. Tua Tagovailoa and Hollywood Brown. So Tua and Hollywood Brown for Justin Herbert. Superflex League. Who do you got?
Herbert.
Okay.
Although
that's close.
I don't know. It is closer.
It's like a top 15.
Fantasy. Okay, here's where I get torn. Sometimes I feel like I have a hard time separating fantasy quarterback from better quarterback because Tua is a bum, and I will shout that from the rooftops. That being said, he throws it to Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson, Waddle, who both just run around like they're like wizards and just like, woo, no one can catch him. And next thing you know, he has 23 points. And Hollywood Brown didn't get traded for a first-round pick to go out there and not get thrown the ball. I mean, I think he had 8 targets his first week back on a snap count. So with DeAndre Hopkins out there. So depending on what the rest of my team look like, I might go who my other quarterback was, the Tua side. But
it's tough.
I probably would go to Tua side.
Yeah. I mean, he's just in such a great situation.
But Herbert's way better than Tua in real life. Everyone knows it.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, I've seen a lot of Burrow for Justin Herbert straight up, and we already kind of gave you an answer. I found one that's Herbert in a 23 first for Burrow in a 23 second, which is even better, as we've already explained. So if that's out there, like I would take that.
That's so even.
I would take that. No, I'm saying like Herbert gets the first. You get the first with Herbert.
Oh,
Burrow's the second.
Even. Yeah.
I think this should be flip flop, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. If it were Burrow in a second.
Yeah. Okay. So here's one. This will be a final one. Justin Herbert for Joe Burrow in a 24 first.
What?
Yeah.
I had to go the 24 first because that 24 class is going to be pretty freaking good in my opinion.
It is going to be pretty good. I agree.
Caleb Williams, you could get May, and then you have 2 good quarterbacks. They're priced on 1.
Absolutely. Yep, I agree.
I'm a big believer in picks. I pretty much will always defer down to picks, which is like sometimes I ask myself, like, when are you actually going to try to win instead of just trying to defer to get the next best guy? But hey, next year I'm winning our league. Me and Noah's home league. I'm going to win it next year with my first 2 overall picks, potentially 3 if I lose this week.
We'll see. I heard Bijan's thinking about it. He might not come. He might not come to the
I heard
draft.
he's thinking about going to the Chiefs.
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. He's automatically RB1 for Dynasty. That would be gross. All right. Well, yep, there you have it. Justin Herbert over Joe Burrow. If you guys like this video, again, please like the video, subscribe. We have a 2023 mock draft. Click on this link right now to watch it.